Welcome to the Avance Podcast. I'm Dan.
And I'm Nicholas.
Oh.
I almost died today.
Yeah?
I went back to the gym. Really went back to the gym.
Yeah, like with a trainer.
God. I'm lucky we're sitting.
Yeah.
It's hurting bad, so.
We're not at our friends at MotoFish tonight, and we are not at Haggerty Garage and Social. We actually have a special guest dialing into the show, and we needed a kind of a controlled space with a lot of internet, so we did that.
We needed a technologically space, but we've got a TV screen.
Yeah.
And the writing's right. So we're going to call it a win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll call it good.
So how are you?
Pretty good, yeah. Busy.
Yeah.
I feel like that's just it.
Well, you're a homeowner now, so I mean that's just, that's the thing I can ask you. I don't have to be like, what have you been doing? I just know you've been doing stuff on the house, and it's just what's finished now and what's.
I did set up a home office.
Oh,
violated some terms of service and got some internet. It's good times.
Yeah, but okay, just so we're clear about that, violating terms of service, you're including me in that.
Nah, not really.
Really?
Yeah.
Your
name's not on it.
No, but my address is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. I mean.
Ask me more about how to hack your cell phone. Anyway.
Just tape 5 of them together. It works just
fine.
Yeah,
it does, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll have cancer in a year, but yeah. Anyway.
Please don't. I can't do this without you. And I mean that. I mean,
you just hit the button.
Yeah, it's the other stuff. The edits are going to get real bad. Real bad.
We're editing still?
Oh, yeah.
Just
okay.
kidding.
Yeah.
You guys are in for a treat of a show today, though. We have a very special guest coming from the show, and that is Justin Bell. If you don't know that name, that is Derek Bell's son, but he has made a name for himself, obviously, with his racing career, winning racing career, I should say.
Don't ask him about making helmets. No.
Different Bell, but yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But first, we have a Carter Subaru tip of the week. Carter Automotive Group. I don't officially know which one it is. It's Carter Subaru, Volkswagen, and Acura.
Carter Motors.
Yeah, it's Carter Motors.
Yeah.
So I guess I should just say Carter Motors.
We have a meeting with Carter on Monday, so
yeah.
We'll confirm that.
Yeah.
Just to be sure.
We'll switch it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wade.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was at the request of a guest who discovered that the windshield breaks much more easily from the inside than you might expect.
What?
Yeah, it's funny because this is not the first person I've learned this from. Both of them shall remain nameless. But basically your windshield shape is, convex, concave, convex.
Yeah, one of those.
Anyway.
I think it's both.
Technically, yeah.
On the inside, it's
it's structurally more sound from the outside. From the shape, it makes it much harder to shatter from the outside. From the inside, even just a small amount of pressure actually will crack your windshield pretty easily. But the tip I wanted to share is, don't throw things at your windshield from the inside, even when you're frustrated. But the next thing is that if you are ever trapped in a car and need to break a window, you should have a glass break tool. And if you were ever submerged, and as crazy as this sounds, this happens quite a bit more frequently than people think. Either people have seen the boat ramp issue.
I was going to say it's boat ramps, let's be honest.
Yeah, or it's people falling asleep and driving off the road and into rivers, which we have a lot of water around here. And as crazy of a concern as that is, it is just if you ever need to break into someone else's window in an emergency, like you come across a scene of an accident, that's where you really want one of these. Because
a hot child in a car, a hot animal in
a car.
Yes,
a hot animal in a car, things like that, which you do have the legal right to do. If a child or an animal is in distress, you can break a window. You need to be very sure of that. You should call the police first and tell them what you're doing.
If you're looking at a Tesla, look at the dash. The dash will usually tell you, the car is on, the child is fine, he's in the trunk. So. Dog's in the front, baby's in the back. Yeah.
But one of those good tools you should have is a glass break tool. And you can get them in all sorts of different flavors. You can have battery jump packs. Sometimes have a little barb on the end for that. You can get them on a pocket knife, which I always carry. In fact, we have actually some knives we got for when we were under Rain City that it kind of matched our color theme a little bit. And they have a glass break tool and a seatbelt cutter, and the blade flips out, and it's got a serrated edge, which is nice to have a little serration to cut through rope. But like I said, if you stumble across the scene of an accident and you can't get into a car, one of those, you would not believe, you don't want to mess around with one of those. Like a little tap, I guess hopefully you can see me. You can just tap.
It's it's what it's supposed to do, yeah.
Yeah, it will immediately shatter a window. It takes almost no pressure whatsoever. So no matter how weak you think you are, it's just like a tap, and it'll shatter a side window.
Am I wrong in that there's the one that's Life Hammer?
Yeah, Life Hammer.
Life Hammer.
Yeah, it's a popular one.
That has the glass break. It has the seatbelt cut. I mean, it's bright yellow. It's just it's an interesting tool to have in your car. I mean, and I always tell people too, if you're going to have this, like so many people like us have toolkits and things like that. Don't keep it in the back because if something happens, you need to have it accessible. Put it in the side pocket. Dan carries his and his on himself.
I'm a pocket knife guy because
Dan
to be honest, it's for
Dan
Amazon.
robs a lot of people, so
I'll be honest, it's for Amazon packages more than anything else.
Give me your money, or I'm going to break your window. Yeah,
don't do that.
It is. It's a needed, necessary tool. So
we think everyone should have one. And a lot of cars actually do come with them. I've noticed. People don't know about it. I looked through some toolkits. I think it wasn't very common before, but now if you get like one of those safety kits, like they're usually in there. Oddly enough,
usually the safety kit's in the back of the car.
That's true.
Yeah. So
at least if like it's an Audi, it's like Velcro to the side and the back. Volkswagen.
But you still got to crawl through.
Yeah.
Especially if you're underwater.
Anyway, I usually have one on me or it's in my center console.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
Anyway, that's your Carter Subaru tip of the week. We think it's a tool you should have, and you don't need to spend a lot. You can get a dirt cheap one for like $15 for a decent, cheap pocket knife that'll open your Amazon boxes and maybe save somebody's life. So
you're going to use it to open more Amazon boxes.
That's true. Yeah, with that, we will move.
What if you order it from Amazon? How do you open the box?
Teeth.
Oh, okay.
Just go for it.
Okay, good. Excellent.
All right. With that, we will jump into our interview with Justin Bell. And with us this week, we have none other than Justin Bell, which you probably know that name if you've watched any other podcast or watched any motorsports in the last 20 years.
Is he new?
He's new.
Oh, okay.
Overnight success. Yeah.
Overnight success. Yeah, exactly.
Started when I was 18.
He's hoping to make the Bell name a recognized name and a household name, but it probably won't happen. Who knows?
I've got to defer to the older one on that. So yeah.
Well, you're no slouch yourself, man. I mean, that Le Mans win in the Viper of all cars, which I'm fully aware the Viper race car, very different driving car than the Viper street car.
Thank
Still
God
an amazing win.
You know what? Thank goodness you said that because there's always a sort of he doth protest too much side of driving the Viper race car, right? Because people go, that bag of shit, or that overpowered, overtired, noisy foot pedals in the wrong place, and I was like, yeah, but our racing car was amazing, and that was really the truth of it. But I've got to say that as the Vipers evolved, they did get a lot better, but thank God our racing car was not that similar to the road car at the time.
So you're saying just to make a good street car, take the street car and turn it into a race car, and it'll be a good car.
Spend spend $10 or $20 million, and you got something that really works.
Pocket change,
yeah. But I mean, it was an interesting. Just jumping in on that, it was an interesting moment because when the Viper came out, it was so polarizing and iconic in an instant. It was also, being involved with Chrysler at the time was such a special feeling because suddenly you had a passionate support group, a passionate following like Corvette had for 50 years, or BMW or Porsche, but the Viper one was overnight. And there might have been a lot of gaudy leather jackets and gold chains, but God, it was good. And so
they came over from the Corvette crowd, you're saying? No.
Yeah, I think, do you know what? There was quite a lot of crossover. Let's say if you had a 2-car garage, you had one of each. But it was actually fascinating. We did these Viper invitationals that we were invited to as the drivers, and there'd be like 1,000 people just rabid for this brand. So it obviously hit a nerve. But then when I got my first Le Mans I did actually was in that orange car there, which is a Viper, which does not look like the one next to it. And I did it with René Arnoux, who was a Formula One driver at the time, and a guy, I can't remember who my teammate was, and the other one. And it was not intended to go to Le Mans. It was 1994. The car was like basically a road car. They put stripes on and a roll cage. And it would lift at the front going over the Mulsanne, the hill just full, the last corner at Mulsanne and Arch. You'd be like, holy shit, this isn't good.
Some CLK GTR feelings there.
Yeah. Basically it really was. And the other funny part about it was that René Arnoux was, he was the big French ex-Formula One driver who was more interested in finding the white line in the middle of the road in the motorhome, I think, than he was driving out on track. So, but great experience. So then when they made the road car, and the race car, the real race car with the Rica everything. It was spectacular. Yeah, good.
Yeah, very cool car. You raced McLaren as well, right? In
Yeah,
Le Mans?
also over there. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Do you know what's so funny? I mean, yes, I did.
Yeah.
By the way, talking with me is a little bit like ping pong.
Perfect.
Because, you say something, it triggers me. But
Squirrel.
Well, actually, it's funny. My best friend James was over this week from England, and he was like, "Yeah, you've always been like that." But when I do what you do, when I am actually interviewing people, I'm pretty freaking focused. But I don't have to be now. I'll let you guys worry about that. So the McLaren was amazing. I mean, it was an incredible experience. Can you imagine being, what I was like, 25, I guess, 27, and getting the chance to drive that car all year, sponsored by Harrods, and with Andy Wallace, and then inviting my dad to be a part of it, to go to Le Mans, leading for 12 hours on Father's Day. I mean, what, incredible. And then we had a clutch. As it dried out, we knew we'd be vulnerable to the factory car. It wasn't really a factory car, but the JJ Leto car was just more updated than ours. And we had a clutch release bearing go with, so we basically lost like third gear, which is, not ultimately great. So it just dropped our speeds down a bit, and we got overtaken. And we were on Goodyear's, not Michelin. And I got to say, the Michelins were superior in the damp rain, pissed with rain all night. But how cool is that? Your Father's Day with your dad on the podium at Le Mans.
I actually talked to your dad about that a few years ago, and he had nothing but good things to say about it.
Yeah, all his wins. Yeah, all his wins. He still thinks that's one of the best things that happened. But it's funny, the model cars, because I actually have a lot in storage. Bruce Meyer, who's one of the biggest car collectors, here in LA, probably in America, but very discerning collector. He had a birthday the other day, and I did a video sitting here. His friends were doing like a video message thing for him, and my point was, as I was talking, I suddenly realized I had these behind. I said, when I come back, I'm going to come back as you, but I want my car collection not to be able to fit on an IKEA shelf. That's I've got a higher
goal, right?
Yeah, I've got higher goals for the next time round. I promise you, they're going to be downstairs in a big garage.
I like his dream. I want to take him.
Yeah, no kidding.
I too have a large 1/18 scale car collection that I hope becomes real someday.
Yeah. Just
find
another
that genie in a bottle kind of thing.
Just another 5 million listeners, and you'll be there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
No problem.
Easy.
Yeah.
Just ask Joe Rogan. It's easy. I mean, if only the two.
He's done it. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah, he's done it. Or you have to be more attractive. I hate to say it.
Well, thank you. I mean,
we are well aware of
wonderful
this.
to see you too.
So am I. Believe me, I know that's the problem with like my new podcast. I'm like, Jesus, how do you make this thing resonate? Maybe I just need to, have great boobs and go down half naked on a skateboard down my street while interviewing. I think it could work.
It's kind of a time-proven formula.
Dan and I talked about this, and that was my idea, and he was against it. I was going to, wet T-shirt everything, but he's like, no. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the new podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, Life with Legends.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Life with Legends. Well, I guess I'm really lucky. I have had a life with legends. It's been the fortunate side of the Lucky Sperm Club was that I was surrounded by such incredible people. My dad's peer group and everything as I was growing up, which, to be honest, you don't appreciate when you're a kid, right? It's just
it's normal to you.
It's normal.
That,
yeah. Oh, there's Jackie Hicks. Oh, there's your. It's not very special at the time. I got to say though, I did always know they were very special men that did this for a living. And I would say men and women, but at the time they really
right. Yeah, understood.
And they were incredible. They were always seemed very manly, right? They were always the death rate was obnoxiously horrible at that point during the 60s and 70s. And I always, they never talked about any of that, but obviously I heard my dad talk about it. So fast forward to the last few years when I've gone to Le Mans, especially last year, Dad being Grand Marshal at Le Mans, the whole family went and were a part of it. And always he has dinner with Jackie X, like on the Thursday night or the Friday night, and I'm just sitting at the table, and you guys would, be going as mad as I was because these stories they're talking about, and I'm going, shit, let me slide my phone on. I felt like, like I was sort of CIA agent.
Record quickly.
Record and I actually did get some clips, but Jackie X is not keen on all that stuff. But these great stories, and I thought, you know what, I've got to use my fortunate position to know everybody as friends to capture some of these conversations. And it germinated a bit, and I actually talked to Matt DeAndrea, who works with Adam Carolla, when I did his CarCast about 6 months ago, and he went, "Don't touch a podcast." He said, "Don't even go near it." I'm like, "Oh, what? I thought I just made a lot of money straight away." He's like, "Yeah, no, it doesn't really work like that unless you got Adam Carolla as your partner."
So it works like racing. You start with a bunch of money and then you make a little bit.
Yeah, but as you guys know, it's not about that. You're like, I have a mission here to do it. And, obviously I have the talk show with Tommy Kendall and Jason Jacobson, my producer and partner in that. So we've got very much into the live stream thing, and I can talk about that in a minute. But I wanted a passion project, and I also love portrait photography, and that's sort of a big part of my life, is taking portraits. Again, because I'm a good interviewer, I think it translates itself to my photography because, people open up. So I thought, I don't really care if it's a success or not. I just need to do this before some of the older guys time out. And they are timing out. Vic Elford just the other day, and all these guys, they're starting to get a bit old. So I kicked it off, and I'm doing it on Patreon, which may or may not be a good idea. I decided to because I felt maybe I can control my audience a bit more. And yes, it's behind a paywall, but again, as you guys know, you need a lot of people to get advertisers to. It's a tough road. So I thought, hey, maybe if I have 500 people on there spending a few dollars, maybe I can have a more intense audience and be more, personal with them. And it's slow going, but everyone loves it. So I started with my dad. That was a great one. And I've done Brian Redman and David Hobbs and Alan DeCadney, who's a very close friend of mine, who's actually lives very nearby, going through a few health issues right now. He'll pull through it, but just getting some great moments. And then taking their portrait, and I love the way you described it. It's a conversation, right? You have conversations with people. That's what I do. I think my unique point is obviously I've been one of them. So hey, listen, everyone, there's lots of late night chat shows, right? And they all have their certain thing. And that's what we do, you and I. So yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
Well, I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons we did it, in the fact that everybody always asks us, like, what are the questions? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, we're going to talk. Like, I mean, we always described it as sitting down and having beers with somebody, because I think that's when the best stories come out. But to
you
your
can
point,
see that by all your notes. The same as me. Yeah, exactly.
Scripted podcasts are the worst.
It could be up here. I could remember things about you. I didn't. But let's be honest.
I don't.
No, but I mean, back to the podcast, you have access to these amazing people, and telling their story is important. I think you're right. I mean, there's been many a times Dan and I have been sitting at a table, and I'm going, I don't know how I got here, but I'm going to listen, and I want to be able to tell these stories someday. So it's incredible that you're doing that. So yeah, thank you.
And I think, I'm actually just thinking about it as we were talking. Or I was talking because I never stopped, but as I'm talking, I'm thinking to myself, every interview or every podcast brings out a different perspective. It triggers you to a different thought. And I'm sure, as you've experienced, you can have some conversations and you thought they were going to be the best of your life because they're the funniest dude you've ever met. And then you kind of having to force it. And that's when you do have to think to yourself, so how many... So you won Indy a lot, right? How many times? You're going, fuck! I wish I'd really done my research here. And then, of course, you did win the championship. No, I lost it by 1 point in a horrible last lap fight. Oh yeah, I forgot that. So you have those moments, but my advice to you, because I've done so much live TV, is especially if you have a British accent, it's like a bad joke. You just go straight through it and get to the other side, and no one cares as long as you're convincing.
So we need British accents as well.
I know.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's not going to work. Yeah,
open a podcast in England. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's the other way. You're cool in England. I'll tell you that. Yeah, you see.
Cool. I thought it was just Japan. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're huge in Japan. We're cool in England. There's a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people, though, you just put a mic in front of them and they clam up. And then as soon as it's off, they just start talking like crazy. You're like, where was all this when I had the record button glowing red? Drives me nuts.
Totally. I mean, that's actually quite funny because on the last, because I'm sitting them where I can. That's one of the things. That's why this is slow going. You know what it's like. If you can, you do. And especially,
well, we wanted to do it with you, but you wouldn't give us your home address. So I mean, there's that. So yeah.
That's true. There's a lot of weird stalkers around here where I live. And again, I'm looking for the hot one. So you two are really out of luck there. But
totally fair.
That's fair.
Yeah. Totally fair.
Lesson learned.
Listen, but when you so I was with Magnus Walker 2 weeks ago, and we're dear friends, but he had some surgery for a hernia, so like I left. I just had it still recording, and he's talking about his sore balls, and we're doing this, and I'm like, that's going in.
That's going in there. Yeah, exactly. Well,
you are going to
insider information. Yeah,
exactly. You are going to you're going to edit that out, right? No, don't believe in that.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's so funny, but I was very fortunate. Coming next week, I'm doing Hurley Haywood. Who's a great friend and a legend, and I'm starting obviously with the friendlies, the really friendlies, because hey, this is my new idea, let's do it, and that was a great interview. I was there for Daytona. I went up and did it, and then I've got a real. I don't want to say it's a scoop because that's the wrong word for it, but Parnelli Jones is obviously the runway is almost over for ahead of him, and through a great friend of mine, Mike Fulmer, he knows him well, so he agreed to let me go and talk with him, and it was what an honor, right? And it really made me feel that even if this doesn't go anywhere, I have this amazing catalog, library of great conversations. And Parnelli, I didn't turn my little cameras on, because you don't want one of your heroes to look frail, so
right. Yeah.
So I just did it on audio. I did take his portrait, which was nice, holding his replica of the Indy Trophy, which was pretty cool. But just to listen to those stories, and you just know that they're, you wish you try and prod a little bit more to. It would be great if everyone could cry, right? That would be and laugh and cry. But, that man has so much history in him. And he said he enjoyed it. And I imagine for you, it's the same. If someone says they enjoyed the experience and the conversation, and a guy like him's had a million of them. So it made me feel pretty good. That's genius.
I interviewed Hurley for a Haggerty Garage and Social event, actually, and he just fantastic. One of the nicest people I've ever talked to. I was so amazed how humble and nice he was.
So charming, right? So charming. It is. So definitely with the podcast, it's. When I go to England, I'm doing Jackie Stewart, and they'll do Damon Hill, and I'm going to get to those people, and I did Patrick Long as well. So. He's a young legend, but in my mind, someone that's achieved a lot. So, not my mind, in everyone's mind. So, a good mix.
I know you're kind of all things media. You've been in all sides of media, but where did your photography passion come from? Because I know that's a huge passion of yours. I've seen it on your photos.
And he told us. I had that on my notes, but yeah.
Exactly. So where did that come from? I was a dismal art student as a child. So an interesting sort of tale is that, so there I have my dad, hands like plates of meat, and a farmer's son, and, driving Porsche 917s and all that stuff. Meanwhile, he has this son who I did race motocross and I was pretty good at it. And
Yeah.
so I loved all that. But the son also like sitting in his little studio above the garage painting. And my dad was like, come down here and clean your motorbike or cut the grass or let's chop down a tree or do something manly. And I'm like, Dad, I am painting my wall with like all these weird colors of an alien. Because I saw Salvador Dali shit. And he goes, and he got a little more understanding when I went, Dad, get out of here. I'm practicing my life drawing. And he would be like, oh, okay, go back to it, son. You know, the tree cutting.
All I can picture is the Monty Python scene.
Yeah.
I want to sing.
Yeah.
I want to sing, Father.
Exactly. He's like, I don't know who the girl is. I feel sorry for her, but good luck with the drawing. You know, so I do a lot of that.
She signed the waiver, Dad. We're good.
She did. He was just happy it was girls, I think. So, you know, anyway. So we had a really, that was sort of my teenage stuff. So I was into airbrushing, and it was all that, very much that sort of 80s, late 70s, 80s airbrush effect stuff. And I was pretty crap, but I really enjoyed it. So then I started art
Biking on the side of a van.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's... So true. No, just like
You have to have the sacrifice of a virgin on the side of a van to a werewolf. That's very
much
what you start with.
Or when I was doing it, like, you know, a martini glass with a red cherry in and a pair of red lips.
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, that was my style, really. You know, my mum was like, I don't know how you know to draw boobs so well. I'm like, well, ask Dad. Because Dad knows my program.
Comes naturally, I'll tell you that.
It does.
Comes real natural.
They're all different. Yeah, they are all different. That's
not a conversation a lot of people have with their mums. I don't know you can draw boobs so well.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, look who she was married to.
Yeah.
So it was very funny. So I worked as I announced to my mum and dad that I wanted to told my dad I wanted to race cars. So I went and saw the Formula Ford Festival at Brands Hatch with my buddy James, who I talked about. And I was like, oh my God, this is how you start. This is how you start racing. This is the best thing.
I was going to say, you were older, though, when you did that. You weren't one of those kids in a cart at like 4 racing your whole life. You were like in your teens, right? When that
Late
happened?
teens.
Did your dad want you in a cart when you were a kid?
No.
Like, was he trying to make... Okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean, Dad was very preoccupied with his own career. And I mean, I raced motorbikes because I could go with the friends that did it, and he liked enduro riding. So motorbikes were my thing, and kart. I never sat in a kart till I was 20 years old. But when I lined up on the grid next to Mika Hakkinen and Alan McNeish in my first race, who had probably done 2,000 races each and won a couple of world championships.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is fucking quick. They're like, what the hell? What are you talking about? Just, you know, and they just disappeared. I finished third a lot. So anyway, Mum made me, as part of the deal for me to do the to go racing, was you have to go to college. So I got accepted on some dodgy artwork into we live near Goodwood, into art college, and it was more like a related arts degree course. It was, you know, it was more like fame. I did the art thing, but there were dancers and actors and musicians and stuff, and I thought this is pretty lightweight. And there were also 90 people on the course and 82 girls, so I figured I could practice my life drawing all I wanted. So
we're in the wrong business.
You are, but. It happened.
I'm an artist now.
Yeah, it happened. God, this is a long frickin' way of telling you about my photography. Anyway, I'm so off in the woods. I've gone sideways. But the great thing about the college was that, the bad thing was they only had one real day of lectures, which was Wednesday, and Wednesday was also open testing at Brands Hatch. Go testing or go.
Yeah.
So at the end of that year, my college tutor called me and she said, you are a disgrace. You've got to focus. And I was like, hand on heart, I'm going to do this. I promise you, I'm going to do it next semester. But I got a sponsor that winter, and our local news channel came and did a piece on me the day before I went back to school. going hand on heart, I'm going to be a racing driver. And so I walk in, and she's like, you are a disgrace. I'm throwing you out. Let's go and see the dean. Went and saw the dean, who closed the office door on her, walked in. He was an older guy, and he had a cigarette on, like he did back then, don't worry about the kids' lungs or anything. And so I'm
You'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. And so I'm in there with him, and he goes, so I hear you want to be a racing driver. I said, yeah. And he goes, well, who the fuck wants to be a related artist anyway? And I'm like, dude, I know. So he.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Yep.
So he gave me a little shot. He said, do you want a drink? So we had a little shot of whiskey each, and we sat there and we talked about it. And he said, listen, there are no men in your year. So if you want to just like hang out and just still have a place at school, then you can come for the parties or whatever. So that's what I did for the next year. But the racing obviously got more serious, and that was it. So back to the photography. Crap artist, but very creative. And I could never quite get my vision down, with my hands. It just wouldn't work. And the girls didn't appreciate looking like swamp monsters either. It's funny. Life drawing sounds good, but when you make their beautiful backside look like they're 65 years
I don't
old.
look like that.
Yeah, you're like, it's like this. You're going, you don't want to see you want to see it? No, it's better left to the imagination.
No, you don't. No.
So I am.
Yeah.
So I think to be a racing driver, you have to shut down your creativity somewhat, your imagination. I did anyway. I was a very empathetic kind of kid, and I needed to lock it away. And I did that for 20 years. I locked it away because my problem is if I let it out of the box, I could imagine the wheel coming off, going through the crowd, me following it and killing everyone. You don't do that. You can't have that imagination as a driver. And it definitely probably made me not as successful as I could have been because I had the speed. But this is like a counseling session. Hello, therapist. So I feel like, well, let me share.
Wait till you get the bill.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, then when I started doing the television stuff, it was like it allowed me to create shows. I was very good at it, I think. And, it allowed that creative side out. Then what I did was about 8 years ago, I'm like, God, I really want to paint again. And so I went down to Michael's, bought the biggest canvas I could, all new paintbrushes and paint, and went in my garage and like, bah! Ooh. And about midnight, I went, oh my God, I'm still crap. And I was like, this is just, I'm like,
well, you tried.
This is like a $300 wreck on my paint. So anyway, I was like, but I need something. And then I was at, I think it was Amelia Island, and I saw this guy with a Hasselblad. And, the 501c, which I have over there. And it looked like a Ferrari. It was, those cameras. So, you look into the top and it makes this thud as you take a photograph. And I'm like, wow, I love that. Know nothing about photography, but I like that. So I went to Sammy's, the big camera shop here in LA, talked with the guys, bought one on eBay. And basically that started it off. And then I got into Leicas because they're smaller and were better for me. And I love it, man. I love it. I really, if I was a trust fund kid, I would just, well, it wouldn't be kid, would it be like trust fund middle-aged man? But I would be running, I would just take photographs of people, actually travel the world, take photographs of people. And I'd probably go back to all the girls who I butchered in pencil and charcoal and take their pictures again. But maybe not. It's 35 years.
Well, you owe them at least that.
I do.
Turning them into monsters. Yeah.
Well, maybe they've turned into what I drew back then. So maybe I wouldn't. Maybe I wouldn't want to revisit that. But maybe I'd start anew. Start afresh, and live up to all those
social media stalk them and be like, yes, that one.
See, I was right. You did look like this.
Exactly. I was ahead of my time.
Yeah.
It's a clairvoyant painter.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It really is, and I think but I would. I would worry that I would be one of those, pervy, stalky portrait photographers. So I'll stick to taking pictures of famous, drivers and people like that. I love it. I mean, so anyway, long-winded story. I have a camera. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worked out okay for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you still riding? You say, I was going to ask you about the motorcycle stuff because that's how I grew up.
Oh,
too.
you did?
And,
Yeah.
yeah, riding my whole life.
Yeah. So I did a lot, and then I was into road bikes and things, but not fast road bikes. I always like, the BMW GS 1200 or something. I like sit up enduro style bikes a lot more than race bikes, because I never did track racing. And I think part of it is I felt very confident sitting up, like on an enduro or motocross bike. But rather, like, one of the things that comes from being a professional racing driver is you also have to know your limitations to live. And I know that if I got a Ducati, I would ride it like I'm, Marquez, and it probably would end badly. And so I really enjoyed, sort of enduro type bikes. But then in the last few years, I've had friends hurt. My good friend of mine, her husband got killed 6 weeks ago. And here in LA, you're just like, maybe I should just, not do it. I'd do it if I was like in the countryside, I'd do it, but I'm not going to ride around here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. I went from a Ducati Street Fighter 1098 was my last bike, all tricked out, everything. And now I have a Honda Monkey. And
I mean,
a little bit of a contrast, but we ride them off road.
Oh, that's so fun. I mean,
they're hilariously
Is that
fun.
that's the new one you bought?
The little tiny 125.
125,
Yeah.
I've had like everything under the sun, and it's been my favorite bike I've ever had.
And we take them. We started last year, and we're doing it again this year. We're doing the backcountry discovery routes. We did Washington last year. We're doing Idaho this year. And I mean, everybody's up there on the big giant, the KTMs and the BMWs, and we go putting by on these 125s, and like, what is wrong with you? I'm like, a lot, but back off. I'm a photographer.
Yeah, exactly. That's really cool. Yeah. I when they first came out, I looked at those and didn't pull the trigger, but now you're making me think about it again. But
they're stupid and fun.
It's stupid fun, yeah. And it's a conversation wherever you go, which is great.
Can you believe the value of all those little pit bikes and monkey bikes now? I mean, going at auction for 10 grand, 12 grand, 8 grand. I mean, going, what? How did we not buy a lot of them?
Yeah, but I was never allowed to have motorcycles as a kid, so now I have as many as I can now. But a lot of people, that was their childhood, of your vintage and our vintage. They rode the 50s. I mean, and that was, Dan, when I first met him, he was talking about riding in his backyard as a kid and nailing his knee on a stump. Like, that was the way they grew up.
My biggest injury on a motorcycle was on my Honda 50. I broke my leg in half hitting a stump in my Honda 50. Like, anyway.
That's nasty stuff. Oh.
So you're still driving everything under the sun, though. The interviews, photography is great, but you get to drive cars all the time. I know you still have a really good relationship with McLaren.
Yeah.
What are you driving personally, though? Like, what's your baby now?
This is going to turn you on. I drive an F-150. That's my.
So do I.
Yeah, I love my 150. No, someone asked me the other day, "What's in your garage?" And
I was expecting a Jetta wagon. I'm not going to lie.
Someone asked the other day, "What's in your garage?" And I said, "A divorce."
That's fair.
Yeah, so inaccurate.
Yeah.
So let's just say I get to drive cars that are way nicer than I can afford, which kind of makes you get BMW lend me the new M8 competition, and what am I going to do? Go down the dealership and say, "Do you have any of those like M2s, whatever left?" It's like we got an X3. So anyway, I get to drive, and when I have the new Porsche Turbo S convertible coming in a few weeks, and I just love it. If I had a real outlet for the cars, and we didn't do that with the talk show, we decided not to. We weren't doing car reviews. We're much more about the live streams at races and things like that. But I did have an ill-fated car test review site called Motor Guru, about 10 years ago. We got a new car every week, and it was amazing. So I know it's out there, and I really do enjoy doing it, but it's pretty cluttered space. So, which is
A
actually
lot of reviews, especially people doing personal reviews and stuff like that on YouTube and all that.
And then, you got all the legit, I'm only using legit as in established. You've got the establishment.
Understood.
And then you've got these kids who have got 10 million followers, and they're the ones being invited on all the car events now. The poor old journalist from, Ohio Weekly or whatever, it just isn't getting a look in, so it's...
So you got the guy doing the 30-second TikTok who's getting like front row to the latest McLaren and Lamborghini.
Really, who, by the way, has only just got his license kind of thing. And it's...
If his mother's not driving.
Yeah.
Anything you're looking forward to driving? Anything that's coming out that really piques your interest? I mean, obviously you said the Porsche's coming, but...
Well, I mean, I think we're in the final era. I'm not saying this in a doomsday way, but it is the car manufacturers are making these halo products, aren't they, that are so extraordinary that offset all the stuff they're doing with EVs and hybrids. And it's like, look at our lineup of hybrids, and have you seen our 800 horsepower car over here? And they're like, they're like, it's really, they're all doing it while they can. And I think if they can, there will always be a market for it. So I particularly feel that there's no bad cars out there, really. I mean, there at a certain level, there's amazing cars. I think it gets a little ridiculous with some of as you verge into the supercar territory for most road drivers. I've had Lamborghinis that were so fast. I thought if I was a Persian trust fund kid hit from Beverly Hills, I would die, because it's got nothing to do with the fact that the car's got all those electronics. It's the fact that you can't outrun the laws of physics, right? I mean, they're so freaking quick. And at some point they go off the road. Great fun.
That's a lack of training too. Like, I always feel like when cars like that, especially the super and hyper cars, they should be like, okay, here's the course we're going to put you on the track and teach you how to drive this. Because, I mean, Dan and I have both overdriven cars.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've jumped up through so many cars. I remember I got in my C7 Z06, and that was the first car I really had. I had a GTR too, but the GTR had so much grip and control; it was so much more stable. The C7 though, you could get in so much trouble corner to corner, because it was just this insane mid-range rocket, and it was, by the time luckily that thing had the best brakes ever, but it was like, oh crap, the car is saving me. I am way over my head right now.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and that happens a lot, especially I had a Turbo S as well.
Oh,
same thing.
So fast, and really, but I mean, I love the fact that they're being made and that they have been made. I think it's a last hurrah for that kind of car. And I mean, I'm not saying how long that could be. It could be 10 more years, right? So it makes you go, I need to get more involved in the EV thing just to understand it and enjoy it. And so we're actually launching a new show called Electric Talk that's going to be on PBS, and it's under our Talk, Torque, Talk brand. And the more you start to know about it, you go, holy cow, this is amazing. And when we were at the New York Auto Show last week, Jason and I went, that's all it was. I mean, if you wanted to see an internal combustion car, they're like hidden in the shadows. It was all green, and the earth being linked by the graphics were amazing, and this and that. I mean, they were obviously, Subaru had an amazing display, and Toyota and Nissan. They make a lot of great cars, but none of the Germans were there. So you can see there's a big shift in the culture of cars. But our job, your job, my job, is still to remember one thing, and that is, I love driving. And when I was a kid, I used to try and ride behind the lawnmower and then put wheels on stuff, and then motorbikes when I was smaller, and then go-karts when you're older, and race. I mean, never once did I go, oh, what kind of engine is this? Does it make a good noise? I just wanted to frickin'
I want to go fast.
I want to go fast. And so if we can retain that sensibility, actually, it's not sensible, is it? That emotion, and try and parlay that a bit into the EV world, like they have with Formula E and stuff. I think it's going to be great. But I've had to retire. This is it. I'm going to officially retire my favorite phrase tonight on your show. Do you know what that is?
Okay.
because I won't get any sponsors for my new show. I was asked in front of a big motoring group of journalists one time. Someone said, "Oh, what do you think of Formula E?" So it's about 5-6 years ago when it was starting. And I went, "I think it's great." I said, "But have you ever watched porn with the sound off?" And
are you sure you want to retire that
no,
phrase?
I don't want to retire it.
I'm taking it.
No, I really don't want to retire it. I love that phrase. It's mine. I own it. It's
okay. All right, fine.
No, but I'm like, no.
We'll have to quote you when we say it, because I will be saying that again.
I just think it's the perfect example of what it's like watching, them race, because it's got all the elements, right? It does. They're driving fast, technology, boom, boom, boom. And when you're in a car, apparently it's the drivers, they have to manage all the regen and all that stuff. But, racing's racing. Do you think Ben Hur stood on his chariot going, "Shit, if I had a V8, I'd be killing you guys,"
I need more horses, literally.
Literally more. Give me another horsepower. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
I'm just thinking of our deaf audience reading that in the captions right now, and me getting the hate mail for it. It's going to be great.
I mean, but there is also that experience. I mean, I love the electric vehicles market that's coming. I got passed by one of those new Audi. What are the 4-door?
The e-tron.
The e-tron. Yeah. It's incredible. But it's a sound thing when I'm in the car and you're revving and you hit the pedal on a petrol powered car and the car rocks. There's something to that, and this piping in sound into these cars. I understand there needs to be sound outside so they don't run you over, but I think that we're missing something. And then I was talking to somebody a couple days ago, and we were talking about cars. He goes, electric cars are great, but do you know what it takes to make one of those batteries? And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
It's getting better all the time, though. I mean, there's still the exciting part of it. Like, if you think about Volkswagen at Pikes Peak in 2018, when on gravel, the fastest time that Millen put down was like 10:04 or low 10s or something. It was just insane on gravel. And then Volkswagen in 2018 goes up at 2 minutes faster. In their Pikes Peak race car, which is insane.
And I was there. That was the only.
But they're not losing to the engine.
No, I mean that was the only. And of course, torque doesn't drop off. Exactly, they don't have an altitude issue with batteries. And recent, I have friends that we actually did an episode of Shut Up and Drive with Lexus that weekend, and he gave me some training for the course. And he was doing his race. I was doing my race. I drove a Lexus. RCF concept car up the hill. My only time of doing it, and he actually did that run, and he had it was early days, overheating of batteries and engines and things, and he only had like 60% power when he got to the top, even with that time, I think. So I mean, and he's just a phenom driving up that place.
Not much stopping him.
The Millens, talk about another legacy. Yeah,
they really do. But I think. What we have to think about, like with the charging thing. I mean, there we are. I was driving back from Palm Springs, running low on gas. I just put gas in it, right? I didn't have to plan it. I mean, it's stop and do it. It's different when you drive those cars, but EVs. But I remember back to when I'm older than you guys. When cell phones first came out. And the original one, my dad.
We were there too.
Yeah, my dad.
Are you talking about that much older? Like the suitcases or what?
Well, my dad had the suitcase, but then he had a Cellnet, which was our British. For your deaf people, this doesn't sound good, does it? When I'm doing this, the cell phone was really big. It was a cell phone, and it was massive. Yeah. And you'd walk it around, and you'd be like, you'd try and look cool, but of course, everyone knew that no one else had one. None of your friends had one, so who the hell were you talking to? But no, it doesn't matter.
Who are you talking
to? But BBC did something way back, and I remember they had like some of the older people on discussing the fact of like not quite these things won't catch on, but just imagine what stress this is going to cause in our lives, and who on earth, what normal human being would have to tether themselves to an object of communication that needed charging every night. Who's going to do that? That's what they said at the time. And look at us now. I mean, I don't know how many.
I don't like where this conversation is going.
Right? We have so many devices plugged in. I take like a multi-charger everywhere I go. You know, it's right. And you've got it. Yeah. You see, I didn't do the watch, my friend. I did not do the watch. I could not. It was, I didn't want to do the watch. But everyone loves them. But yeah, so the point being, we adapt, right? It'll be our new way of living.
Yeah.
Let's just sort out where the power's coming from without getting political.
Well, even then, I mean, speaking of cell phones, though, do you remember how long it used to take to charge a cell phone? And if it charged in like 4 or 5 hours, you were like, oh, that's really quick. Yeah. And now it's like, my phone's not charged in 45 minutes. I'm like, what's wrong with my charger?
No, but like he was talking about coming back from Palm Springs, you got to plan it. I mean, putting gas in your truck is simple. I mean, it's painful right now, but with charging, even with fast charging, you got to take 15, 20, 30, you know. Well, how many milkshakes can you drink by then?
So, but 10 years from now, you'll probably be out of charger for 20 minutes. And then there's, who knows what's going to happen.
They just need to make photosensitive paint. I'm sure Elon can come up with that. We'll charge while you're driving. Be fine.
Is your show, do you filter comments? Are you worried about being politically correct?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I've just had a thought.
He's finally thinking.
Yeah, no, do you know that this is why I love podcasts more than real TV, because I can say what I want. In truck stops, they were quite infamous for truck stop prostitutes. Well, I think this is going to open up a whole new market for them, because you're going to have EV charging hotspots, right? So you're going to have a whole new brand of EV fast charging, fast girls.
Fast service.
Quick lubes. Yeah. Quick lubes, because you're going to be like, your wife's going to say, so darling, you charge your car, you love the long charge. I do. I just love them.
It's better for the battery.
It's better for the battery, honey.
No, but I'm just saying.
You seem so happy and relaxed when you get home.
I'm just always looking at the positive of a situation, and I think that we're going to create a lot of work for a lot of sex workers. So it's probably good. So long live charging stations.
I absolutely didn't. I've never thought of that.
Well, nor have I.
He's not wrong.
There's a business opportunity here.
Anyway, yes.
I mean, there's a phrase. We can come up with a quick charge and something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, I hope I've inspired maybe some younger entrepreneur who watches your show to
entrepreneurial.
Yeah, exactly.
When the OnlyFans money dries up, they can go to the Snoqualmie truck stop.
I'm sorry about your show, because I probably just tanked your podcast, but that's all right.
Oh no.
If we haven't done it in 240 some episodes, you can't do it.
240 episodes. Good for you.
Yeah. It started as an accident with no budget and just like, drinks over a fire with friends. Like, you should record some of this stuff. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's really good. And
it actually started in a really small conference room here at Microsoft, and it was something. It took off. It still has no budget because there's just no money.
But we love it.
But we enjoy it. Like you said, it's having the opportunity to talk to people, especially people like you that that have a story and have a past. I mean, that's everybody, but it's amazing some of the times I kind of pinch myself. Yeah. So I mean, and your personality does not disappoint. I'll tell you that. You. So I mean,
thank you. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much of the company I'm going to have to sell you after I come up with the truck stop.
Exactly. But I was going to say I have the same mixing board down there. The
Roadcaster.
What a great thing. And that's this technology game changer, and technology is on our side, isn't it? I mean, it's go travel with some good mics, and you can capture things that used to take a truck. So I think it's wonderful. So who
you would laugh at our setup?
Mine fits into it's not really a very good looking case either.
We've got our little case back here. It fits into.
Yeah, that's good. No, I'm actually staring right now. When I went to Magnus's place, did you know he came out with those shoes? Those did you see?
Yeah, the Nikes.
Nikes. Well, he asked me for my size like a year ago, and so when I was on the show, I was like, "What?" He said, So anyway, I'm just staring at them. I'll never wear them, Magnus, but they look cool on my shelf. They do look cool.
That's cool.
He's on both of our bucket lists,
Yeah.
and I mean we're going to end up getting him on the show.
You will,
but
yeah.
I've followed his career, and so has Dan. I mean, I have all the Hot Wheels, all the ones he's made.
Great.
I mean, the shoes. I tried to get on a list, but that was never going to happen. There's so many people that wanted those shoes. So yeah.
And then
So congratulations, stare at them, drool on them.
I will. Yeah. And the new book, he's got an update to the book, Urban Outlaw, and it talks all about his relationship with Hannah and things. So it's great.
That's awesome.
Again, I haven't read it, but I've heard it's great. It's over there. I mean,
it's holding down something for you, so that's the important.
I read the first one a lot. Well, guys, this has been fun.
That's actually.
Yeah.
What is it? Before we go real quick, is there anybody on your bucket list to interview? Like, who's like anybody just out there? You're like, I would just die to have a conversation with.
Now that you've talked to us, I mean
right? Yeah.
It's going to be tough, really, after you.
It's all downhill from here.
Who's interviewing who, by the way? I don't know what's going on. I'm friends with him, I guess, sort of pseudo friends. I would like to get Patrick Dempsey on, not because he's a legend, but part of this was going to be called Gentlemen of Speed, because it was anyone connected, motorsports, actors, athletes, or whatever. But as you know, doesn't matter what you call it, just do what you want, right? So, I really, Sir Jackie Stewart would be amazing. Hans Stuck, Jackie X, those guys. Richard Petty, I've got him sort of half lined up because I met him at Goodwood.
We met him at a party one time.
Yeah.
Really good guy.
Yeah, really nice guy.
Down in Scottsdale for.
So this is my Richard Petty story. So I'm at Goodwood, and he's there, and I have my Hasselblad, and I said, "Hey, Richard, we obviously met, so he knew I wasn't like some weirdo from outside." And I said, "Can I take your portrait?" So we go outside, and he's tall, right? I mean, he's tall, especially when you're holding a Hasselblad. Actually, I don't know where the camera is, so I can't show it to you, but you're holding it here. So I'm trying to get it up here to take a picture of his face, but he's tall. So anyway, I managed to do it. I think I stood on a chair. Anyway, I'm then holding the camera like this, and he's got his hands in his pockets. And and I went, "This is the portrait. Richard, don't move. This is it." And because he's Winston Cup, 7 or 8 time champion. It's a massive silver buckle, and he's got his ring on, and he's got his worn old hands, right? And I'm thinking,
and the hat.
But I'm just down here with his crutch right now, and he goes, He goes,
this is the photo.
He goes, I said this is the photo, and he goes, "You'd tell me if my zipper was down, wouldn't you, boy?" And I go, I would, Richard.
Yes, sir.
He said, "Because you don't want to meet the real king."
Well, I mean,
I was like, well,
he didn't talk to us that much.
Anyway, so just great memories, really. Yeah, good stuff. Oh, and by the way, the photography, shameless plug. I haven't launched it yet, but it will be on lifewithlegends.com, and it's just it's going to be where I sell my prints where I can. All of them limited to 24 editions of each, a run of 24, where I can, obviously all signed and kind of expensive, but very rare and pretty cool, printed by an amazing printer here in LA, and I think they're beautiful. So that's something I'm doing to balance it all out.
Yeah, plug away. That sounds awesome. I love sharing that stuff. So great.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on and taking the time. I know we had some scheduling issues between all of us, but it was great to finally meet you and, face to face through the computer.
Me too.
I'm sure we'll cross paths in the future.
We will do, guys. Good luck with it. And really fun. Thanks for having me on. And let's think about a name for.
I'm already. Believe me, yeah. I don't want to say it on here, because I want to. We'll have a planning session another time. Yeah.
All right, guys. Good luck.
He's half serious. You don't know it.
No, I can see that.
All right. Yeah. I'll sign us off. So, go. Actually, you will sign us off.
For this episode of the Avance Podcast, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan, and don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.